How's it going, YouTube? It's your resident Mistweaver monk, LB Ninja 7 here, and today I have a pretty weird video. As you've probably heard, we had some nerfs announced to Mistweaver monk, our favorite spec, coming up in Dragonflight. Apparently, we were performing too well by their standards, but never fear. The whole point of this video, I'm going to go through all of the nerfs and the one buff, and we're going to discuss what it looks like for us. And actually, I think this is a great sign for Mistweaver monks. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Right off the bat, we have Ancient Teachings in the Monastery, basically our marquee passive, which is, after we Essence Font, which it's still attached to Essence Font. I know we've been asking for that. However, it's also attached to Feline Stomp, which is very, very cool. So in Mythic Plus, you never have to Essence Font, basically. But they did nerf it down. Instead of our kicks doing 200% of their damage as healing to someone nearby, they're going to do 125% of the damage. So what that means, it's basically what it is today. It's a 37.5% nerf. So it's going to do 37.5% less healing than it was in the PTR already. But I don't want you guys to get discouraged. I don't want panic and mass hysteria out in the streets. But this does suck, yeah. But you have to think about, why are they doing this? Well, when I thought about this, my first uh, reasoning was that they're adding AoE blackout kicks. That's one of our new talents. Is our blackout kick can now hit up to 3 people, and that's awesome. Okay, that is so sick, especially when you stack up with our Ancient Teachings passive. You stack up those blackout kicks, you're going to be cleaving blackout kicks left and right. So if you were to have a fully stacked blackout kick and then hit 3 people each time, it's going to fully top up a party 100% of the time. So I can definitely see why they would want to nerf that. That would also be very strong in Raid, because right now Ancient Teachings is our go-to in Mythic Plus. It's our best heal there because it's very efficient. You're healing one person for a lot, but in Raid, 1 out of 20 is not as good as 1 out of 5. So uh, this just makes sense. But every blackout kick, if you stack it up fully, let's see, what would that be? You'd have 3 from normal, and then that times 3, because they're all cleaving off 3 people. That's about 9 blackout kicks per button press. Every time you hit blackout kick, you're getting 9 juicy heals out to people nearby. So I can see why they wanted to nerf that. So that to me is kind of the reasoning. And you know what? I'm fine with that. As long as we get to keep our blackout kick AoE, that's totally fine with me. And also after Feline Stomp, I like it. I like this change. I'm okay sacrificing some of those bursty heals to see that we get to do more healing overall. All right, now let's move on to, let's see, Clouded Focus. So when we're spamming, when we're channeling our Soothing Mist, if we alternate between Enveloping Mist and Vivify, we can get a lot of mana cost reduction. It also increases the healing that they do. So what I'm thinking is that they found that this playstyle was probably healing too much. I'm not too sure if this scales off of your extra Soothing Mist target off of our new talent. I don't think it does, but they probably just found that this was getting too much healing done. I don't really know. We don't know the numbers here, but it's just a 5% reduction. So let's see. If you get full stacks, like if you sit there and spam into one target for that long, which you rarely ever do, let's be honest, but you would be normally, before the nerf, be getting 60% reduction and increase to healing, whereas now we're getting 45. So that's a 25% nerf. You know what? We don't know the numbers with this one, but maybe it was just performing too well, and this tiny little nerf means that it's probably not going to bring it down too much. So I'm fine with it, honestly. I don't know what this play style does for us. It's been a while since we've really mistweaved. We've been fist weavers for so long, so I can't really speak on this one, but it's just a minor nerf. So I'm totally fine with this. I don't know how much we were going to even utilize this, but one thing I don't like is you'll see in I think another nerf, they're nerfing our mana reduction. Now, mana's a big problem for us. Honestly, I was very excited to see that we were going to be able to have more mana reduction capabilities in Dragonflight. So it is a bit disappointing that they felt like they had to hone that in. I get honing in the healing, but over a fight we use so much mana, especially with our 1 minute Yulon. It's a lot. So I would have liked to see the reduction of healing, but not to the mana reduction. But we'll see how it plays out. So the next big nerf is to Enveloping Mist. So this is our biggest hot, as you guys know, and it was doing 360% of our spell power. Now it's doing about 288%, so it's a pretty sizable nerf. So about 80% of our spell power getting knocked off of that ability. But if you think about it, in today's Shadowlands world, we press Enveloping Mist on average. I would say about 20 times in a fight in a decent amount of time. So that's what we're looking at now. But in the future Dragonflight builds, we're gonna have Yulon up. It's gonna have a third of the cooldown, so we're gonna be pressing Enveloping Mist a whole lot more. So they were probably just looking at the stats and the meters and seeing how bloated this ability was for healing. The only issue with it is that it costs a ton of mana, 5.6% of our base mana. That is just a fraction of your mana off every time you press this ability. So we are limited in that sense. So I get that this does do a lot of healing, sure. But it's very limited in the fact that we can't sit there and spam it all day, even if we have Yulon out, although we're incentivized to. So I'm guessing that people were really abusing innervating Mistweaver monks on cooldown, having 3 boomkins per Mistweaver and just innervating every Yulon. That was probably getting a ton of healing done, and they probably don't want to allow that kind of strategy to come in. I get that because I know what we're capable of if the mana bar doesn't exist, but it does. And if they wanted to nerf innervate, sure, but I think a lot of problems still exist for Mistweaver monks. If you want to sacrifice 3 raid slots to give innervate to a Mistweaver monk, then sure. But it seems a bit excessive. I definitely do see where this is coming from, but also we have to remember that we have the talent that our Rising Sun kicks are going to have a chance to apply an Enveloping Mist for free without having to waste a global cooldown or waste the mana. So that probably is also where this is coming from. So I guess in that aspect, getting these free Enveloping Mists, it was looking super too good to be real. So I guess now it kind of just brings us back into reality and lets us know that this is our strongest hot, and if we get them for free, if we get to just spam it and get bigger heals from it every minute, then it's probably a little too good to be true. So I guess, you know what, I've convinced myself this one is okay. Let's see. So Awakened Feline, actually they let's go ahead and look over this. This was a nerf that they announced last Monday. So our abilities reset. This is how it normally is. They reset it 100% more often. The Feline Stomp cooldown. But the thing they added in Dragonflight is that Spinning Crane Kick heals allies for 15% of the damage done. So when we come up on a big pack in Mythic Plus, this is basically only for Mythic Plus, but it's very needed there. We can just spam Spinning Crane Kick like we've been doing to get bigger damage numbers, but we're also going to be getting healing. A lot of the other heal specs, they don't have to sacrifice healing to do damage, whereas we do. Our one best damage button does 0 healing in Shadowlands, so this is what they added. They gave it 15% healing inside the Feline Stomp. Now, the abilities are going to reset at 50% less often than it was doing, but they're adding healing to that Spinning Crane Kick inside the Feline Stomp. They're changing that healing from 15% to 25%. I love that. I want to be incentivized more to press Spinning Crane Kick. Since they're afraid to give us more AoE damaging abilities that do good numbers, I want to be incentivized to press that button, and this is great. This is one of the things I'm most excited for. However, this 50% less often to reset the cooldown, I guess Blizzard felt bad about it because in our next picture we'll see they reverted it. We're still getting that 25% healing from Spinning Crane Kick, but we're keeping that 100% extra chance to reset Feline Stomp. So that's great. That is a nerf and then a revert, but we kept the buffed part of the nerf. So that's great. All in all, this is a buff, and I really think that I know for a fact that Feline Stomp is gonna be insanely fun and insanely good in Mythic Plus. Not really sure how it's gonna pan out in Raid, if it's gonna be worth it, if we're gonna go with Bone Dust Brew, if we're just gonna not go with either of those, but I like what I see here. Especially it gives us some AoE healing capability and AoE damage capability. If it's indirect damage, it's not having to sacrifice our healing to do damage, so it's indirect damage capability. So I like this a lot. I'm glad they reverted it because Feline Stomp's just fun. It's fun to be able to press that button back to back to back and watch that cooldown go from 30 to 0, from 29 to 0. It's really fun. So I'm glad that I'm sure the fun aspect of this ability had something to do with it. So that's the Night Fae thing. So now we have Yu'lon's Whisper. This is a legendary in Shadowlands. It saw zero play. It's whenever we use Thunder Focus Tea, so on a 30-second cooldown, we basically just breathe out and heal 6 people in front of us in a cone. It's 60% power of spell power times 3. I don't know what that number means. Like, obviously, I want to think it's like 180% of our spell power. I don't know. They do some weird calculations here, so it's hard to say what it's nerfed. All we can do is say that obviously from 60 to 45%, it was nerfed by 25%. So my guess is that any amount of free healing that we're gaining, so basically if we don't have to change our rotation at all, but we're just gaining healing on top of what we already have, that's probably just like strong. And it just, if you take our numbers right now in Shadowlands and just bump them up by free stuff like Yu'lon's Whisper. If we got a third legendary and it was Yu'lon's Whisper, then that would, jump our meters a bit. So all of these things compounding probably just added up to too much. So they're really trying to dial it back in. And I feel like Yu'lon's Whisper is just a free talent on the talent tree that you get to kind of pivot into and get just a bit more healing. You get a whole legendary's worth just by going a little bit, not even out of your way, honestly. So this I'm fine with since I don't really know the numbers. I don't know how much it's healing in the PTR. I can't tell you guys that, but I do know that a 25% reduction it's a little steep. So we'll see. We'll see if it's still worth it. But my guess is that it's still going to be worth it. It's just extra healing. We can't complain. We press Thunder Focus Tea almost on cooldown, if not on cooldown, in every piece of content. So it's just a free heal. I mean, I can't complain about that. So this is not too bad. It's probably not going to change our numbers too much, but here we have Zim Pulse. Okay, so it was a 15-second cooldown. Now it's a 30-second cooldown, so they doubled the cooldown. So you think what they're probably going to double the damage, right? No, they did not. They less how do I say this? They less than doubled the damage. So basically, if you take a 30-minute dungeon, okay, and say that you were doing, I'm just throwing out random numbers, you were doing 100,000 damage with Zim Pulse throughout that dungeon, and this applies to healing too. Just the numbers are going to be different. So you were doing 100,000 before this nerf. You would think that them double, and you're pressing it every 15 seconds, okay, and you got that number. Now we're going to be pressing it every 30 seconds. You would be like, oh, well, I'd hope to still be doing 100,000. No, we're going to be doing about, what would that be? I don't know. I'm not going to do the numbers right now live, but let's just say 75% of, so it'd be 75,000. So overall, it's a nerf. However, we can't really go off of what they initially announced. We can't say, oh, but I like the old Zim Pulse because it wasn't a thing. It wasn't. We shouldn't have these like notions about it before we've actually played with it. So we just have to accept the 30-second cooldown, the I guess larger numbers. Honestly, the way that I'm looking at it is that I want abilities that are more impactful. I do, especially as a Mistweaver monk. We've gone so long without doing good damage. I want to see those giant numbers. If you've played Resto Shaman this tier and you watch your Venthyr Totem pop, it does huge numbers, so big. So I am more okay with that, and this kind of incentivizes you instead of just pressing it in your rotation. Um, it could incentivize you to pull bigger. It could, every 30 seconds we can use that at the beginning of a pool of a big pool and then at the end of a big pool or at the beginning of every big pool. Like it kind of incentivizes to me a more fun playstyle, a more fun button to press as opposed to just an impactful thing. Yeah, it's worse than it would have been, but to me it seems like it's going to be more fun seeing those bigger numbers, and feeling like you're really juicing up a pack as a healer. So I can't be too upset about this one, especially since I haven't personally played with it. I do know that currently we have, what is it, Chi Wave and Chi Burst, and one of them is a shorter cooldown, but we didn't even play it. So it is nice to have the longer cooldown. Now, do I hope that they tweak these damage numbers back up a bit? Absolutely. I want us to do a lot of damage. I think it's one thing to put us back on par with the other healers, but it would be so nice to actually just be the best damaging healer for a change. I think we've gone so long without doing damage that it's the least they could do, right? But yeah, so let's go ahead and let's talk about some of these. I've kind of gone over the nerfs and I've kind of implied what I'm trying to say here, but yeah, these are nerfs. Okay, it does suck to see your spec get nerfed. However, it's really a good sign. It's a great sign for us to know that we were outperforming every other spec. It means that I mean they thought about us. It means that they saw how miserable it was in Shadowlands and they were like, let's juice these guys up. But although it does suck to get nerfed, it means that they're looking at us currently. They are actively today, tomorrow, yesterday, they're actively changing things about Mistweaver. So what can you and I do? We can start a discussion. Say what we think about these nerfs. We can say, "Oh, well, I don't like this in the talent tree." It now is our time to be as vocal as possible. Let them know what we don't and do like about the changes about the whole entire talent tree because they are actively changing things right now. These are six nerfs basically all at once. So they are actively changing the numbers. We have to be vocal and we have to let them know what we think about them, what we think should be next, how this can be changed. If you've had a sweet idea like I don't know, like what was the revival adding stagger to everyone? Like if you have a cool idea or like a cool cooldown, say that now. They still don't have the full Mistweaver tree. I think there's still one talent that's still under construction. So be vocal. Be vocal down in my comments. Be vocal on the forums. Let me and them know, and hopefully they come to us and they read these. There's probably one developer that is in charge of going around, watching videos, seeing what everyone's input is. So be vocal, be active. Now is our time. So that's why I am happy to be a or to be a spec that needs to be nerfed because we've gone so long without that. Now, I will say the last time we were nerfed in Shadowlands was the giant gutting of Fallen Order. But Fallen Order, yeah, it was super powerful, and it does suck to be just a less powerful healer, going from the top to not being on the top anymore. It's just not a fun playstyle, and I'm glad to see it go in Dragonflight. And it did, I have to admit, it did make playing Mistweaver a little bit more fun because you had to be less, you had to be more. I don't know. You just had to focus on other things other than your Fallen Order, and it did get very bland playing around that. So I was in the long run, I am appreciative that that nerf happened, but I obviously I don't like being nerfed. But here, I think this is a great sign. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you think I am just inhaling a massive amount of copium, or if you think if you see the silver lining and you see the glass half full, you think, okay, so we are strong. I'm excited about Dragonflight to see exactly how strong we were. We're probably still at the top of the healing meters and these nerfs just brought us down a little lower. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And if you enjoy my content and you want to support me, the easiest way is by hitting the subscribe button. It is one click for you, but it means the world to me. Every single subscriber means that I'm closer and closer to my dream of making YouTube videos for a living, and I can do them more often, frequent, higher quality, and this is just what I love to do, and you guys support me in that way by doing so. Also, if you like this video, if you like what I had to say, or if you hated what I had to say, hit the like or dislike button because it really lets me know what you guys want to see in the future. So until the next video, I will see you then, and I'm going to go do some dungeons. So have a great weekend.